Hello, Geoff.
Aha!
How are you, sir?
Biff Bam Pop, Mr. Andy Burns. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm glad to see you got a little accompaniment there in the background.
I've got a dog, I've got cats
Yeah,
rolling around here. Never
good
lonely
stuff.
here.
Brilliant. You okay?
Uh yeah, man, how are you doing? I'm
Good,
great. How
good,
are you?
good. Excellent, excellent. Really good.
So let me let me start and pardon my language, but I freaking love this album. I
Cool. That's
love
great.
it. Um to my ears, it is, Fly From Here is one of my all-time favorite Yes albums.
Okay.
And Mirror to the Sky is my favorite since then. It feels so immediate. And one of the things that I love about it is you guys made a progressive rock album,
Yeah,
which,
yeah, we
which
certainly did. I think so. Yeah.
it's
Uh,
the irony of that, Yes is the definitive prog rock band, and yet, we've got, really like the longer songs, and it's really an album that is so immediate and really it takes you on a journey. Was the prog rock aspect of it, sort of the longer songs, was that a conscious direction? Was it something that just kind of developed organic? How did that all come together?
I think that we dusted ourselves off from the pandemic, and we really wanted to make an album that I think was instrumentally powerful as much as it was vocally powerful. And of course, if you look at the last two albums, they've been quite a lot more song oriented in terms of straight ahead songs. And I think that this band has been fusing together for quite some years now, and I think that this was the real opportunity we had to expand the musical side of the band, as Yes did back in the 70s, with the big tracks from Tales and Close to the Edge. That those albums weren't necessarily the yardstick that we were attempting to put together for this, but I think it's something that just came about naturally. We were playing around with a lot of different ideas, and quite a lot of those were instrumental. Hence the fact that the songs have expanded. So it's not just vocals, and a bit of music around it. There's a strong musical sections that we put together. Particularly, I think on Mirror to the Sky and All Connected. Which are pretty powerful pieces in their own right. I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, you talk about Mirror to the Sky, and it's 14 minutes long. Tell me about how that song came together, because one of the things I know that you're pretty aware of, what Yes fans want, good or bad, and Yes fans can be, a surly bunch, and they can be a vocal bunch, but you really, what this band delivered with Mirror to the Sky, the song, is this 14-minute long track, and it's sort of the song that, from a length perspective and also from a musical perspective, it's definitely what Yes fans, I think, would want, or we're hoping for. How did that song come together?
Well, I think it started with a few grains, germs of ideas, and then we started to expand it, and it took its own natural course. Really, I think that by the time we'd actually put it all together, it was even a little bit longer. So we cut it down a little bit. But yes, music is like that. It's like classical music. There's all these dynamic sections that come in. And that's what we wanted to make these tracks particularly. We wanted to make them dynamic, so that there's very, very powerful sections. Billy's bass is playing like crazy all over the place. Uh, Joe's drumming's out of control at times. Steve's out of control. Everybody's out of control. So I think that was one of the things that we liked to do. We felt on this album we wanted to be a bit out of control. We didn't want to be restricted by the song per se. We wanted to be able to, as I say, this lineup has been together for probably 7 years. I mean, not to underestimate the sad fact we lost Alan last year,
Yeah.
which was a great blow to the band, and a great blow to me personally as well, because I was very close with Alan. So uh, that was a very tragic set of circumstances for us all to deal with. But I think that Jay had been his understudy for quite a few years before
Mhm.
that, and so Jay was really, I suppose, the natural fit to come in and pay homage to Alan as much as anything else. I mean, if you ask Jay who Alan's favourite drummer of all time was, Alan would be number one by a country mile. So
Right.
it's I think the nature of the band is such that we can go on, and I think that we're always interested in doing new music, and I think that this album is proof of that fact, that we're not prepared just to sit back and play the old standards, and they keep going round, not changing the set list for years on end. I think it gives us a chance to stretch out more, and I also think it helps to uh, preserve the longevity of the band, as it has been such a wonderful band for what, 55 years.
Yeah. Does the weight of history weigh on you as a musician at all? I was kind of, I always tell you, because we've talked so many times now, but I've got my two favorite keyboard players in Yes are yourself and Tony K. And at the same time, there's the legacy of other keyboard players who have been in the band. Does that ever weigh on you, like in terms of when you're in the studio, for instance? Does that ever come into mind that you are part of a legacy, or is this you are Yes, you are the keyboard player in Yes, and this
Not
is
really, because I think that when I first got into Yes, I was still at school, and Tony Kaye was the Time in the Word was the first album I really got into, and
yeah,
Tony Kaye was my hero because he had that big gritty Hammond sound, and he's a larger than life character in that. So he was really my first, well, one of my first, apart from maybe Keith Emerson as well, but certainly within the Yes canon, Tony was a big influence on me, and it was great that he joined us on the 50th anniversary a
so
few
great.
years ago, and to be playing on stage with him. This guy was my hero. So.
Yeah,
But all the other guys as well. I mean, going through Rick and Patrick. To me, it's an honor to be tackling their stuff. Because they all made very, very varied contributions. As I said, when Rick came in, he was much more, the synthesis and mellotrons and mini mogs and that sort of thing, which was carried on, I think, when Patrick came in. So that was very much the sound of the band, I think, from the keyboard division. And so I adopted a lot of that. It rubbed off on me, I think. And so I was into mellotrons, and I was into Hammond organs and acoustic piano. Those were the mainstay instruments for me. So it's not been that difficult for me to focus on that. And when it comes to making new music, there's quite a few nods to that. That the big church organ that comes in, uh, the mellotrons here and there, the mellotron flutes and that sort of thing. They're all very not borrowed from that era, but they're almost part of Yes's whole heritage.
absolutely.
That
Well,
sound,
and that's exactly. I was thinking of the song "Unknown Place," which has that great sort of church organ part in the middle of it. That's it's a beautiful song, and then you hear that organ, and I mean, I can't help but recall "Awaken," and but it fits, and it doesn't feel retro, but like you're saying, it feels like the sound of the band,
yeah.
which as a fan, for me, I've always thought that Yes has always been the sum of its parts rather than one individual, which is, I think, one of the reasons why you guys can carry on so well.
I agree. I agree. And as I say, I, those elements that I just mentioned, I don't like to ignore those completely. I don't suddenly come with this, cinematic wave station kind of keyboard, that plays all jingly,
Yeah,
silly
sure.
things, uh, because I mean, I will use that in some instances within Yes, in some of the more recent albums, but uh, I still think, those mainstays, in the same way that Steve will still reach out for his Gibson, or his
Yeah,
Martin acoustic guitar. These are the they're almost bonded into Yes music, and I think one of the reasons why that's makes it a very identifiable sound, and a very identifiable sound, a very unique sound, and we carry that on. But of course, we're not averse to trying new tricks out, new technology, and all the
sure.
rest of it.
Um, I wanted to ask you, Drama's always been one of my favorite Yes albums. And you've done, in terms of being in the studio now as a member of Yes, you've done 5 studio albums, plus a whole lot of music throughout your career. And I'm just wondering, like, from that time, back in 1980 with Drama to Mirror to the Sky, now, how have you changed as a player from that first time you walked in with Trevor as a member of Yes to, now you're really an elder statesman in the band. You're,
Yeah.
next to Steve, you're a veteran. And how have you changed or developed as a player from that first time to now?
Well, I think that, it obviously had a huge influence on me, and being in the room with those guys, Chris and Alan and Steve, was really an eye-opening thing for me because prior to that, I'd been in a few bands here and there, and I went to music college and I was a band there. We did progressive music and I was into jazz rock and all sorts. But I think that when I was actually in the room with those guys for the first time and we started cutting the Drama album, I thought, well, this is huge, for me, as a keyboard player,
Yeah.
just walking into that world, and so and that went further, of course, when we went out on stage and the first gig I'm in front of 20,000 people, and that really is a baptism of fire,
Right.
it's pretty scary stuff, but I think that gave me the real taste for it, and I really that's one of the reasons why I think that I went on into Asia because I really had a taste for being in a band like that, a big band, a band that had big statements, big songs, big array. That really set me on a course, and I think maybe with Trevor, he wasn't really necessarily cut out for that role particularly,
Right.
and I think that's probably why he diversified and went into record production, of which he's been enormously successful. So
Yes.
uh, we went our separate ways there, and yeah, I mean it was just one of those things. But certainly, that first Drama album with Yes really cemented me into the whole concept of what Yes was about.
And so the new album comes out on May 19th. What songs can we hopefully get to potentially hear live? Because there's so many great songs that I think lend themselves to a live setting, much like The Quest also had some really great songs that would sound great live.
I certainly think Unknown Place would be a great song to do live. That would really work well for me. I mean, it's always difficult when when you have to pick some songs from a new album because the worst thing you could do is go out there and say, right, we're going to play our entirety of our new album, and that would probably be the kiss of death if people had not even heard the album, whatever. And you're playing 1 hour of some music they're not familiar with because they want to come and see. They buy a ticket to see Yes. They want to see hear some Yes music. So you've got to be very careful with the balance that you put out there. And certainly, I think any more than maybe two songs would be would start to get be overkill because of course the fact that probably half the audience aren't familiar with the album, whatever all it puts it out there at least and shows that we're not standing still. We're making new music, not just for ourselves but for the fans. It
Totally.
keeps us fresh. I think the fans appreciate the fact that we're not just as I say going on the magic roundabout, as it were.
Yeah.
It's yeah, so yeah, I mean it's what we do, and I think that we hope to continue doing that for a good few years yet.
Well, let me tell you that if you did decide to play an hour of brand new music, I would love it because I
You
think
would,
that
yeah,
and the one thing that I would suggest about Yes fans, and I always think that it kind of depends on the sort of tour that a band is doing,
yeah,
because I do think that Yes has such a hardcore following that you could potentially say, well, we're gonna do a half hour of new music or
yeah,
whatever, and there is that devoted fan base that if you're playing the Beacon in New York or Massey Hall in Toronto, that would
yeah,
very much be like, yeah, let's hear it. Whereas I think if you're doing like those sort of like the summer shed tours, then it becomes a
Yeah, if we're
little
doing
bit
the
of a
summer sheds or we're doing the casinos or whatever,
yeah.
uh, the people who are just there to gamble and have a few drinks,
That's right.
we're basically, not, I suppose, what do you say? Uh, I can't remember the phraseology, but we're not the most important thing of the occasion.
Probably maybe not at a casino, sure, that people
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
get to the slot machines and their 5 o'clock
yeah.
dinners.
And so, if we played them, they probably only want to hear Roundabout and Out of a Lonely Heart, but uh,
Probably.
so yeah, I mean, we have, as I say, it's just all about balance, and
Yeah.
you have to cut your coat according to your cloth, as it were, and that's what we do.
The final question for you. I've heard talk that you guys are already thinking about or working on another new album. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's a continuing thing. I mean, I think that we always talk about it. As soon as we put one to bed, then we start talking about another one, and I think that it's not like it was maybe in the early part of the decade, in 2010 onwards, where we do one album every 3 or 4 years. It's nice to be able to get out there and start to roll the dice a bit more, and whilst we're all here and the band's sounding great and we all get on
Yeah,
well, I think that it's very important that we just keep going.
totally. Well, you know me, you've talked to me a lot over the years now,
Yeah,
and
I know.
I'm a massive fan, and I really like, I thank you guys for continuing to go on and for putting out a really great album that
Thank
I
you, Andy.
genuinely
Thanks.
I really think it holds it waves the yes flag very strong and proudly. And I hope you guys keep doing new music, and hopefully you'll be around these parts sometime in 2023. I'd love to see you and see the band again.
Well, definitely. Great to talk to you again, Andy.
Good to talk to you too,
Yeah.
sir. All the
Okay,
best
man.
and
Yeah.
stay safe. Be well.
Best to you. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
Cheers now.
take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.